I've been waiting for the wind to die down a little bit today to share with you how you can get 50 to 80 pounds of tomatoes from one tomato plant. Now most backyard home gardeners get about 10 pounds of tomatoes per tomato plant. But if you follow these steps, then you have a really good possibility of getting substantially more tomatoes. First thing is that I'd recommend is you find your local Master Gardeners group or your local agricultural extension from the university. Find out what works in your area. What I'm going to tell you right now works for our area really well in southern Texas. But if you're in a different climate, it may vary. The first thing you need to do is get the right plant. Just don't go down to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy whatever's on sale. You get the wrong tomato plant and you may have a great big green plant or even a nursery. Here's a great big green plant here that I don't know if we're going to get a dozen tomatoes off, but it was one that my wife wanted to try. So it is huge and growing rapidly, but I don't see a lot of production. Now on the other hand, here's a tomato plant that was recommended and we bought from the Master Gardeners spring plant sale, and it's been covered with tomatoes. One thing that I'll share with you is that in the past we've had birds eat a lot of our tomatoes. I'll teach you how to avoid that problem completely, or almost completely. But this is a yellow tomato plant. Those tomatoes are supposed to be yellow. When they're ripe, they're yellow. Those are ripe tomatoes there. And the birds don't eat the yellow tomatoes. So if you can find yellow tomato plants, you can just let those tomatoes, they've been yellow like that for, I don't know, a week, and the birds haven't touched them. We're just actually leaving them out here. We're picking some. My wife just picked some for a salad tonight. But we're leaving to see if any birds take them. But they are great tasting tomatoes. Yellow tomatoes, birds leave them alone. Okay, so after you get the right tomato plant, now for our area, the number one highest producing tomato plant is the Bush Champion. And we just keep all the little labels that we get with our tomato plants. So another really good one is the Viva Italian. And this is what we have here. This is kind of a pear-shaped tomato, and then we've got another a Bush Champion here. So once you get what works for your area by talking to somebody who knows, not just somebody who moves boxes. Then what you want to do is you want to take those plants and lay them on the side. Lay them on the side, out in the garden, out in the sun. I'll just take this right here. Just pretend this is your tomato plant, and it's, the roots are here. It's in little, it has the dirt around it. Just lay it on its side, and in a few days, that tomato plant is going to start, or the next day, you'll notice it's going to start growing like this. It's going to bend up. And what happens is, what you're going to want to do next is you're going to take your tomato plants after they've kind of curled up, and you're going to dig a trench, not just a hole. Excuse me. You're going to dig a trench. You're going to lay that tomato plant in that trench, and that the 3 or 4 inches that have bent up, you put above ground. And what happens is now that what was going to be a stem now is a root system, and that root system is going to give a lot more vitality and strength to that tomato plant. So first trick in high yield tomato production is lay the plant on its side and let it sit there for a day or two, maybe 3, and let it bend up, and then put it in that trench. Now when you put it in the trench, what you want to do is you want to put about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of some kind of a slow release fertilizer, such as a cottonseed meal or Osmocote or something similar. Water the plants well after you plant them. Just use that garden hose and just kind of soak them down. If you're in a raised bed, you don't have to worry about the water. You don't have to worry about drowning them, because the soil will just absorb that water and let it run out. And then what you want to do is you want to put some tomato cages around the plant. Now, what we did here is we went to Home Depot and we bought some wire, and it's in a roll, and this is probably 4 inches by 2 inches in diameter here, and the ones that they recommended actually comes in a like 4-inch square, but it was more expensive, and we just went with this. It was like 50 feet. What you do is you take that and you build, you cut 6 feet, is what I did, cut 6 feet of this, and then you, that'll make a 2-foot round right here. Let me turn off this phone here. So 2 feet should be sufficient for a tomato plant. Now this here is 5 feet tall, okay? So from the bottom to the top it's 5 feet tall, and then what we did is I cut this off the bottom of this wire around here, and we invert it. We invert it. So basically, we have all these prongs sticking down into the soil, and the idea was that would help stabilize the cage from falling over. However, it didn't work. The cages. Matter of fact, we came out yesterday, and it's been windy. We've been, have some storms coming in, but we're not getting much rain. And this whole cage here was falling over, and it was completely on its side, horizontal, which is a great way to snap your tomato plant in half. Fortunately, the tomato plant was fine, but as you can see, my wife has secured this now, so it's not going to fall over. And these are all very secure between these supports and next to each other. So anyway, take 2x2 or reinforced wire, something that you can put down and put down on the ground and tie this to so it doesn't blow over. What was I going to? Or I was thinking rebar is what I was thinking, but something to hold that cage there. Now the reason why you want that cage is because you want to get some ground row cover cloth, a white cloth, synthetic type cloth, and you're going to wrap it around the plants, especially if it's still cold where you are, and that cloth will help keep the plant warm and protect it from the wind, which can really be hard on plants. And then you get the cloth, you wrap it around here, and you just kind of tie it up together on the top here, as the plants are small and young. Okay, now ours have been growing for quite a while, so they're quite a bit bigger. And it's in the 80s here, so we don't have the row cloth on there. But the earlier you can get your plants outside, the more production you will have. So do everything you can to get them out early. And so if you got the row cover cloth over it, and you get some snow or gets cold, your plants will be fine. Okay, so make sure you do that. So you've got them planted in there. You got the row cover cloth on there. If you don't have row cover cloth, you can maybe just wrap some plastic around it to help protect it from the wind, help keep them warm. And as a matter of fact, you notice that we've got these here all the way around, on all our different beds here. That's because in the winter, what we have is we have plastic over all of these beds, and they work great in getting our early planting for our garden. Okay, another very important secret to getting your plants to grow really well is to every week apply some kind of a water soluble fertilizer that's sprayed on the tomato leaves, and that will greatly increase the plant vigor and fruit production. Usually just a hose end fertilizer applicator is an easy way to do it, and do something like Rapid Grow or Miracle Grow on the tomato plants. So make sure you do that every week, and that will dramatically increase your production. Next of all, and the last thing is once the plants start with the first cluster of fruits, just like we have over here, we got a nice cluster, large cluster growing here, and as we after the buds and you start seeing some fruit, then what you want to do is have a side dressing with 2 or 3 tablespoons of ammonium sulfite, and then water well. That's ammonium sulfate, if I said that wrong. And then just water that into the soil. So that's the key to getting a high production, a high yield from the tomatoes. Now, I mentioned to you earlier about the birds not eating the yellow tomatoes, but they love red tomatoes. So here's the trick to keep all the tomatoes for yourself and not feed the birds. When the tomatoes are 1/3, so 30% ripe, in other words they get some pink or red growing on them, but they're not completely ripe, that's when you want to pick the tomatoes. Okay, so it's going to be green, but it's going to have some pink or red on the tomatoes, about 30% of it, and you can pick that tomato. It won't be completely ripe, obviously, it's only 30% ripe. Take that in the house and just put it on the counter. Don't put them in the refrigerator. Don't put tomatoes in the refrigerator. It'll kill the flavor in them. Okay, if you do have tomatoes in the refrigerator and you're going to eat them, take them out of the refrigerator and let them set to get to room temperature. They'll taste a lot better. We don't ever put tomatoes in the refrigerator unless we just have too many and they're ripening too fast. So pick them when they're 30% ripe, and you'll get all the tomatoes, and they'll ripen easily, and in just a few days on the counter in the kitchen, and they'll be great tasting, and you won't be losing a lot of your fruit to the birds. Hope that helps. I'd love to hear your success stories and any other recommendations you have for getting high yield tomatoes. If you have any questions, if I wasn't clear on anything, please give a comment and or email me, and I'll be glad to clarify that. But if you comment, then other people can see and we can all learn together. Hope that helps, and I hope you have a great production. This is LDS Prepper out.